Welcome back to Simply Sports Science, the home of clear, simple and powerful explanations for everything you need to be successful in IB Sports Science. Okay, let's dive into one of the most important foundations in sport, exercise and health science. That is anatomical position, anatomical planes and types of movement. Now this might feel like dry vocabulary at first, but I promise once you get the hang of this, you'll start to notice it in every single sport. And it'll actually help you talk about performance, training and injury in much clearer ways. So let's start with anatomical position. This is our reference point. Picture it. The person is standing upright, feet together, toes pointing forward, arms down by their side, palms facing forward, eyes looking straight ahead. Everything we describe about the human body, where a muscle is, which way a joint is moving, comes back to this position. It's like the 0 point on a graph. And once we're in that position, we use directional terms that help us describe locations. Superior means above, inferior means below. So your head is superior to your chest, and your chest is inferior to your head. Anterior means towards the front. Posterior means towards the back. So your sternum is anterior to your spine. Then we've got medial, closer to the midline of the body, and lateral, further away from it. For example, your little finger is medial to your thumb when we're in anatomical position. And finally, proximal and distal. These apply to limbs. Proximal means closer to where the limb attaches to the body. Distal means further away. So your elbow is proximal to your wrist, and your wrist is distal to your elbow. Once we've got that sorted, we can move into planes of movement. These are like invisible sheets that divide the body, and knowing them is critical because they let us describe movement patterns more precisely. There are three main planes. The sagittal plane that divides the body into left and right halves. Movements here go forwards and backwards, flexion and extension. Think about a runner driving their knees in a sprint, or a weightlifter performing a squat. Both are sagittal plane dominant. Then there's frontal plane that divides the body into front and back halves. Movements are side to side, abduction and adduction. A star jump, cartwheel or lateral raise in the gym all move along the frontal plane. And then there's transverse plane that divides the body into top and bottom halves. Movements here are rotational, so twisting your torso in a golf swing, or the rotation of your shoulder and hips in a tennis forehand. Anything that involves turning about an axis tends to happen here. And speaking of axes, the IB also expects you to know about axes of rotation, because planes and axes always go hand in hand. Movements in the sagittal plane rotate around a frontal axis. Movements in the frontal plane rotate around a sagittal axis. And movements in the transverse plane rotate around a vertical axis. This is where it clicks. When a gymnast does a forward roll, the sagittal plane movement around a frontal axis. When they cartwheel, it's frontal plane movement around a sagittal axis. And when they spin on the spot like in ice skating, that's transverse plane movement around a vertical axis. So let's zoom in on the types of movement we need to know at the major joints. Flexion and extension, the decreasing or increasing the angle of a joint. A classic example is the bicep curl. Flexion brings the dumbbell up, extension lowers it down. Abduction and adduction, moving away from or towards the midline. Think about the arms in a jumping jack. Rotation, turning a bone around its axis. At the hip, you've got medial rotation, inwards towards the midline, and lateral rotation, outwards. Circumduction, a circular movement that combines flexion, extension, abduction, and adduction. Bowling in cricket or swimming freestyle involves circumduction at the shoulder. Pronation and supination, specific to the forearm. Pronation turns the palm down. Supination turns it up. Soup in your hand is an easy way to remember supination. Eversion and inversion are specific to the ankle. Eversion turns the sole of the foot outwards. Inversion turns it inwards, commonly linked to ankle sprains in sport. Plantar flexion and dorsiflexion also occur at the ankle. Plantar flexion is pointing the toes down, like pressing the accelerator in a car. Dorsiflexion is lifting the toes towards the shin, critical for running. And remember, every one of these terms is always described relative to our anatomical position, which is why we started there. So why does this matter? Well, for us in sport and exercise and health science, this isn't just memorizing words, it's about building a language that lets us talk about performance and training scientifically. If we're analysing a sprinter, for example, we can break down the sagittal plane actions at the hip, the knee and the ankle. If we're studying a tennis player, we can describe how the rotation in the transverse plane generates power. This level of precision is what moves us from general PE talk into true sport science. So to recap, anatomical position is our starting reference. Directional terms let us describe locations specifically. Planes and axes allow us to map movements clearly, and the type of movement that gives us vocabulary to explain exactly what is happening at each joint. Together they create the foundation for which everything else you'll study, from muscle function to biomechanics to performance analysis. Master these terms and you'll be equipped to describe human movements with far more confidence and accuracy. Thanks for watching Simply Sports Science. If you found this helpful, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you don't miss any of our IB Sports Science content. We've got revision guides, exam tips and clear explanations to help you be successful. And don't forget to visit us at www.simplysportscience.co.uk. Join us again next time where we'll keep making sports science simple.